So yeah, it turns out there was one more Berserk chapter to talk about. It came out not long after that last update, so that's actually a bit awkward. I've been putting this off for way longer than I should have. Nevertheless, it's good to have more Berserk to enjoy. And it's time to check back in on Guts, because last time we left him, the guy was not in a good place, to put it lightly. To catch up those who might have forgotten, Guts and his party actually managed to succeed in their quest to bring back Casca's sanity, and despite her having trouble adjusting, it seemed like they were on a good track. While she simply could not just forget what happened to her, and it looks like any hope of a relationship between her and Guts again is pretty much dead and buried, the island is a real sanctuary. Casca could even spend time with the Moonlight Child, which is pretty much established as her and Guts' son now. The demon infant somehow resurrected into the mysterious entity that followed them around, and the party finally got a chance to just sit down and breathe. Of course, then Griffith showed up. Yeah, it was fully confirmed that the Moonlight Child and Griffith are sharing the same body, and when he took back control from the child, it led to complete hell on Earth. Griffith nuked Elfhelm. Actually nuked it. He completely exploded the island, turning the dead underneath the ground into the same blob that consumed the refugees at the Tower of Conviction. But to make matters truly horrifying, Griffith took Casca. He literally just snatches her away from the island, flying on the back of Nosferatu's Zod while Guts is powerless to stop him. Every swing of the Dragon Slayer being about as effective as a balsa wood stick. He directly hits Griffith multiple times, but it phased straight through him and did no damage, only pulling a single hair off his head. This shatters Guts, now completely consumed in a mental breakdown as he realized the two things he had left were taken away from him, both Casca and his sword. It's a grim sight, even considering how much of an ass-kicking the rest of the cast received as well. Isidro lost Isma, Ornice was powerless to stop Griffith from just taking Casca, Shrike lost the homeland to the mages where her mentor studied and where she was gonna follow in her footsteps. Even Roderick lost a bunch of his crewmates. Nobody won here, except Griffith, and this next chapter only continues to press the salt nice and tight in the wound. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna add a long pause here so this video is easier to edit into a supercut. Chapter 371 still focuses on Guts, still alone in the locked room while Roderick and Shrike try to get through to him. Shrike decides to astrally project through the door to try and reach Guts' mind once again, and the sight of the brute just staring blankly at his sword breaks her heart. Guts doesn't even seem to register that she's there, consumed by another wave of despair. His mind is full of bad memories of all the battles he endured. You get references to the Holy Iron Chain Knights, Rosine from Lost Children, even Rape Horse. It's another showcase of just how far we've come in the story. And while it is good fan service, it's also extremely depressing. Someone give this man a fucking hug. But one memory in particular sticks out to Shrike. It's of Griffith, when the two reunited at the Hill of Swords. Shrike recognizes Griffith, a revelation popping in her mind, but suddenly the memory is cut off, a pair of monstrous jaws slamming shut. Shrike realizes what's happening as the shape of the jaws become clearer, broken chains and blood revealing that this is the Beast of Darkness. It knows Shrike is in his head and it wants to keep Guts in his mental breakdown, since it knows that this is the best chance it has to take over forever. But this is where things get interesting. This little panel of Guts and the Dragon Slayer getting further away. The Beast is far stronger now, actually capable of fighting off Shrike's influence and forcing her out of his mind. And just to make matters even worse, Guts is hit with one last blow. Everything he's done, everything he's been through, has all been for nothing. All the fighting, the killing, the terrible things he's seen, the downright unforgivable things he's done, it all went up in smoke in a matter of seconds. Griffith showed up and ruined his life again in less than 5 minutes, after Guts spent years fighting to get some semblance of peace. So he sinks deeper into this weird psychological abyss, stripped naked of his armor and falling down into the black. It's reminiscent to when Griffith sank down into the abyss when he was transforming into a god hand, only instead of gaining power or losing his humanity, Guts just collapses, fully broken on the floor. Shrike is forced back into her body just as Roderick and his men give up, simply walking away as she just watches, unsure of what to do. All she knows is that they're sinking, torn apart by the cataclysmic defeat. What's left of Elfhelm is devoured by a whirlpool, erasing any trace of the island that was once there. The party can't do anything but lick their wounds. Every shred of hope burned to a cinder, Even Guts, who is a pillar of strength for the group, is left a husk of a man. Their quest, the one thing that brought them together as a family, just ended in unspeakable tragedy. So all they can do is float on the seahorse, without even a clue of what they're doing. Now back at Falconia, you get a sight that will enrage you to no end. Sonia is standing at the harbor just in a daze even as Mule calls out for her. Irving is standing with them, and soon they're joined by Locust and Grunbild. Mule notes that this is a sign of something big. These are Griffith's top guys, and they just randomly show up together out of nowhere, and Sonia simply tells them that Griffith has returned. They watch as Zod flies in, Mule in shock while everyone seems to have been expecting this. Zod lands, and Griffith departs, with Casca in his arms. Sonia simply welcoming him home, and the last panel you see is Griffith with a smug smile on his face. So that's chapter 371. It's not a lot, but what here is substantial. Guts is far past his lowest point. The guy's brain is fried. Everything he fought for was destroyed. The nightmarish shit he pushed through just to get a shot at Griffith, and then later to protect Casca and keep her safe, it all amounted to jack and shit. Seeing the guy just collapse and break is one of the most painful segments of the manga. Guts, even when he suffered defeat before, always tried to get back up and keep fighting. That was the appeal of his character, that this guy would always retaliate when he got hit, and he was an unstoppable beast if pushed too far. But now, that skill set, that very thing that made him lovable and inspiring, means not a fucking thing. What's the point of brute strength when it doesn't work anymore? And not only that, but it failed him at the worst possible moment. Not only did he lose Casca, he just realized that even if he did manage to get a shot at Griffith, it wouldn't work. Griffith doesn't care. He was never affected. The most he could do was pull a single hair off him, even after multiple direct hits with the Dragon Slayer. It especially does not help that the Beast of Darkness is clearly influencing his mental state, forcing Shrike out of his mind and allowing him to spiral down deeper. This was actually a surprise when it happened, because the Beast was dead quiet when Griffith actually showed up on Elfhelm. We still don't really know why it did this. Some people think it's an all according to Keikaku style plot, that it intentionally didn't do anything when it stared Griffith in the face to fuck Guts over, but I'm not really sure about that, because we saw that Guts literally couldn't do anything against him. I'm not sure how the Beast getting involved would have changed anything. It's basically just Guts' imaginary friend. Personally, I'm going with the interpretation that the Beast held off simply because Griffith was that powerful. When Shrike and Farnese entered the astral world, it was literally like standing next to a hurricane to be that close to Griffith. Maybe the Beast was intimidated and only wants to take over now that it thinks it's safe. And I mean, yeah, this would be the time to do it. It's a stretch, I admit, but speculation's all we have at the moment. It hurts to say that, but the interesting part is the segment in Falconia. Sonia and the top apostles are waiting on Griffith. Oh, sorry, I meant apostles. I forgot the T, don't worry. I caught it that time, don't worry, guys. But yeah, it seems like they knew he left and were expecting him to come back. Do they know about the Moonlight Child? Did they know he was going to take Casca? Why? What was the plan? Do they think Casca can separate the child from Griffith? Is that even the idea? What is the plan? Why do they care about Casca now when we've just seen that they could have easily taken her at any moment beforehand? Were they plotting to destroy Elfhelm and just thought to kill two birds with one stone? This part brings up a lot of questions, and it pretty much confirms that Sonia is well aware of Griffith's demonic nature. I mean, she always knew about demons and apostles, but this fully confirms that she knows that these things are fucking evil, and she herself might be pretty damn evil. If she knew Griffith was on his way to destroy Elfhelm, then she knew why he cares so much about that, meaning she knows he's a god hand, and that says more than enough right there. Because remember, the explanation is he wants to target magic users because they're the only ones that can stand against him. For Sonia to be aware of that, she would have to be aware of why magic users would want to fight Griffith in the first place. If she simply predicted that he would go and kidnap Casca, she would have to know A, who Casca was and Griffith's history with her, which, yeah, definitely would not be a good rabbit hole to go down, and B, she would have to know why Griffith would care so much about it, which once again leads into that rabbit hole I discussed. Technically, Griffith came out of her rabbit hole, but the big question is what the hell are they planning on doing with Casca? Because her being in Falconia is such a recipe for disaster. She knows what demons actually are, what Griffith actually is. She's still a sacrifice. She knows who is and who is not a demon, and can demons really control themselves around her? They basically view her as fodder to be slaughtered and raped. because all they have are their evil desires. Sure, Griffith seems to have disciplined them, but is that gonna last with literal living bait right in front of them? Not only that, but you have Luca and her girls. They met Casca before. Granted, she was insane, and there's no doubt she's gonna be locked up inside of Griffith's castle instead of being allowed to roam free, but Casca isn't a dumb peasant girl, she's an experienced warrior. It's a legitimate risk that she could escape. Of course, that's assuming she can actually get her mind together and be able to face demons once again, but point is, this is a massive powder keg of a situation, and personally, I love it. I'm super hyped. But this is the only chapter we have at the moment, since the manga is apparently right back on hiatus, which is fun. I'm not angry at all. Why would you think that, motherfucker? Nevertheless, this is a damn good chapter, and I really hope we get some news about when the next one's gonna drop, but sadly, gonna have to call it here. Until next time, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys. Hey, loser, do you want a shirt? Do you want a t-shirt? I have shirts now. Look in the description for a link to a t-shirt you can buy. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll kill your family. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll poison your dog. If you don't buy the t-shirt, you're going to be the only person in town that does not have a t-shirt. Everyone's going to look at you funny. There's going to be social consequences to not having one of these t-shirts. I'm now making express threats of violence against you if you do not buy my t-shirt. I will call the police, tell them how you're not buying my shirt. They're gonna plant crack in your house, and they're gonna arrest you and then beat you up in a jail cell. Buy my shirt.